All right. There you
Okay,
go. I'm
we
gonna share
are
this real
live.
quick.
Okay. All right. While Carson's sharing this, this is officially night four of this 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs. We had four games tonight. One game is just underway, so we're actually going to talk about the first three games tonight, and we'll do a recap of tonight's Knights and
Tomorrow.
Minnesota game tomorrow. But Carson's
Yeah.
joining me, of course. Best Boys Center Ice podcast. We're normally on Tuesday we would do the podcast, but we're gonna just for the playoffs we're just gonna do nightly recaps of of the games that happened tonight. And the first night of the playoffs were kind of, I don't know if you want to say it,
Not
Carson.
boring,
They were
but they weren't
boring.
close. The games
They
weren't
weren't.
close,
Yeah, they weren't close.
other than
Last
the
night,
Minnesota game.
yeah, and then last night it was just a crazy night
Yeah,
with
yeah,
especially the Kings Oilers game and a couple of the other games, and like now we're getting some overtime games
yeah.
going on.
Yesterday there were two, and then obviously the Kings Oilers game. So there's three really close games yesterday, and today really good ones too.
Yeah, so it's getting more like playoff intensity hockey. And tonight was the Devils and Hurricanes, Leafs and the Senators, Florida and Tampa Bay, and then later here starting at 10 o'clock. Or actually, I think it's underway now. Yeah, it's underway now. Minnesota has a 1-0 lead on Vegas about midway through the first. So, Hurricanes Devils. The Devils looked a little bit better, I thought,
They
uh,
did. They got the
tonight.
first goal.
They got the first goal. They looked like they were actually in the game. I had it on in my office on the side. I couldn't like watch it intently, but looked like they were actually playing a much better game and looked like they belonged there against Carolina. But
And then
Hurricanes still pulled it out. In the end, what was it? It was
3-1.
yeah, 3-1. So the Hurricanes lead that series 2-0, and that's what we kind of expected Carolina to take that one.
Yeah, and I mean the Devils were down two defensemen. They were down Brendan Dillon and Luke Hughes today, which isn't the recipe to success for them. And again, they started off hot, but the game-winning goal for Carolina ends up being a shorthanded goal, which is not something you want to give up
No,
for that. And they did. And Carolina, I'm telling you, just the way they play the game, it's gonna be hard for the Devils to do anything.
and even in Jersey, they'll probably win a game in Jersey, but I don't think this is going to go farther than five.
No, and I mean this was their best chance tonight because they started with the lead and they were playing a lot better than the Canes, and the Canes still won the game.
Yeah,
No matter who you've got banged up, and you still got to play hard. And I mean the Devils did, but just it's not enough against the Carolina team. It's really not.
no, like they when you're missing key guys like that, it's going to be awfully hard.
No, and they're pressing them so hard, but they're
Yeah,
doing what they can. But it's just that's just how it goes. It's not enough against that team.
no, definitely not enough. Now another game that was really exciting
Hmm.
tonight was in Toronto, the Battle of Ontario, Toronto and Ottawa. Close game all the way through. Toronto had a 2-0 lead early,
Yeah,
and then Ottawa came back and tied it, and that went into overtime, which was really interesting. You know what was interesting? I actually I watched the overtime, and it was like you could hear a pin drop in Toronto. They were so nervous because Ottawa had started coming on. Like they had a 2-0. Toronto had a 2-0 lead. Ottawa kept storming back and outplayed. I thought
yeah, they did. They outplayed Toronto.
outplayed Toronto
Hmm.
tonight, and then it was just like that overtime was just like quiet, and then Domi, the hometown hero, unexpected. He's not the guy you expect
No,
to score the game-winning goal,
but he did.
but it was just a very very quiet play, and all of a sudden,
No,
boom! It's in the back of the net.
very sweet goal though. Very
Yeah,
sweet goal. And I mean, hometown hero for sure. But the Leafs didn't play better than the Senators, and they still won. And sometimes for any team, that's the game you kind of need to win, is the one that maybe you shouldn't have. But still a long series. I mean, we see tons of 2-0 leads. So
mm-hmm.
they if they want to win the series, they got to keep playing this way and not let Ottawa get back in it at home, because that's going to be a loud crowd there, and the Senators are going to be a tough team to beat at home. I really think they got to.
wasn't it last year in the first round, Dallas were down 0-2 to Vegas
Yes.
first round, and
Well,
then,
and Dallas was on the road after that too.
yeah,
They
and
lost
they
both
were
games at home,
yeah,
so
and
it's
then they had
kind
to
of
go
opposite.
in, yeah,
But it's pretty common, I feel like, for teams to be down 2-0 going back home.
yeah.
It happens a lot. It's pretty much a 50-50 chance that it goes that way.
I think and always the key in that kind of a situation is if you're down 0-2 going home, very important to win that third game because
Yeah,
if you're down 0-3, that's quite the hill to come back. Ask the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup final last year. If you're down 2-1, that's like, hey, that's just we just got to win one more game
but
and we're
3-0 is 3 games.
yeah, so that way, that's why I think it's so important for like New Jersey to win at home because they're down 0-2. Ottawa to win at home, they're down 0-2. St. Louis to win at home because they're down 0-2. I think that third game, and I
Well,
think in all three of those buildings in Ottawa, New Jersey, and especially St. Louis, are going to be crazy. And if the fans are going to be behind them and that they can feed off of that energy, um, at
yeah,
least two of the three series should wind up being two to
going.
one.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just as much as I like St. Louis and what they've done this year, I just can't see them beating Winnipeg and going too far. Like
No,
I just can't see
I
it.
think they could. I think they could snap off a couple games.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough for them because Hellebuck's been really good
yeah.
this series.
Now the game that series that just started tonight was
Mhm.
the Battle of Florida, and we were
That game shocked me.
looking forward to this is one of the series that I was looking forward to besides of course
Yeah,
Edmonton LA but because I was really thinking Tampa Bay at home and Florida I was just kind of counting them out and then all of a sudden they win 6-2 in Tampa Bay and it's like you have to shake your head and I had to look at the score going
yeah.
really.
Well, they only had 16 shots, so Vasilevsky let in 6 out of 16. He only made 10 saves. That's not like him. Whatever the Panthers were doing tonight, it worked. But again, a long series to go. But this next game, you don't want to call it a must win because Tampa Bay is a very experienced team, but it almost is a must win. They can't be going back to Sunrise being down 2-0
No.
to Florida. You can't do that.
And Matthew Kachuk back in the lineup tonight. He's been MIA since the Four Nations tournament. So that's a boost when you get your captain back. And he's just,
Well,
as much as Matthew Kachuk frustrated me when he played with Calgary,
he's a difference maker.
he's a difference maker. He's that guy that you need in the locker room.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, the team looks different. They got Marchand now, so
yeah,
another agitator who can really tick you off and make you annoyed.
yes.
He's gonna be there to do that. That's what he's gonna do. And I mean, good. He's doing his job if he's doing that.
And look at right now the game that's going on right now between Minnesota and the Golden Knights. While they're up 2-0 in the first period.
Good.
You
Yeah,
know,
they played really well in game one. I really feel like they did. I said it the other day when it started that it's just one of those games that it's not going to go your way sometimes. And they played a really good game. Vegas just played a little bit, well, scored more goals.
yeah,
It was a pretty even contest, but huge for the Wild if they can win this game because you go back home and those fans in Minnesota are really good fans. They're loyal to that team, and this is a Wild team that hasn't really had a lot of playoff success. But uh, if they beat Vegas, that is a team that could maybe make a little noise in the next round because they'd either have to play probably Colorado or Dallas, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. They would play either. Yeah, they would. Let's see. No, no, that would play either the Kings or the Oilers.
Yeah, which I mean, that would be a good series either way with the Wild versus either LA or the Oilers. But yeah, they could make some noise if they get past Vegas here. I mean, that's a tough team to beat. But yeah, that game. The reason Dad kind of mentioned it. The reason we're doing this a bit earlier is because that game just started in our time zone, at least at 10 p.m.
Yeah,
Central, which meaning that game, if it doesn't
yeah.
even go to OT, wouldn't end until about 12:45. That's a bit late,
It's a bit
considering
late.
tomorrow we're going to be up probably doing this at midnight because the Oilers game's at 9 or
So
9:30.
we will recap
That game tomorrow
today.
first. We'll do that first.
Yeah,
So
and then
yeah,
go on because yeah, that's just
which I don't. It's too late, and I mean I don't. I think that's bad by the league that they let it get to that.
Like, I
honestly.
don't know why it was 10 o'clock. It's in
Yeah,
Vegas.
well, and it's in Vegas, but the Minnesota fans, they're on the same time zone as us, so they're watching this game right now at 10 p.m. and they have
Yeah.
to get up at
So
who knows?
when I saw the score, like usually West Coast games are like 9 o'clock, it's Central
Yeah,
Time, but 10 o'clock. I don't know if it was
yeah.
because I don't know if there was like going to go. Let me see
They
here.
they
If
should have what they
was,
should have done because they started the Ottawa or not the Ottawa Carolina game at 5
yeah,
our time. They should have done that with the Ottawa Tampa or Toronto game also started at 5 or 6 o'clock Central or Eastern
two of the
because then
games.
both games would have started at the same time. Um, you could have had it both started at 5 and then both the late games would have started at 7:30.
They did overlap. Two of the games were overlapped. Like
Well, yeah, because
Coast.
because the Ottawa game or the Carolina game started at 5, and then the Toronto game started at 6:30, and then the Tampa game I believe started at 7:30.
Mhm.
So tons of overlap. But I think the league should have done that. I get we're depending where you are. It's a bit earlier. Like okay, Vegas, playing there. If they had the game at 7:30 our time, it's 5:30 their time. But I think just 10 o'clock Central for fans that have to watch or that are watching that in Minnesota is a bit absurd to me.
Well, you think
Um,
about the East Coast, that's 11 o'clock by the time
yeah,
the
I
other
mean, if
games
you're a
start.
fan of that, if you're a fan of either of those teams on the East Coast, yeah, you're watching this, not going to bed till probably 2.
Yeah,
But I
I
mean,
think
even I get it. The time zones are the time zones. You can't change it. But 10 o'clock to me is a bit absurd. I think.
very, very. So here's what's on tap for tomorrow. The first game tomorrow at 6 o'clock, Montreal and Washington. As you can see up on the screen, the Capitals have a 1-0 lead there. Then it's game three between the Stars and Avalanche in Colorado. That'll start at eight
I'm
thirty.
excited for that game
And then you talk about an overlap. Okay, well that game starts at 8:30. The Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings start at 9 in LA.
because of the Washington game. They're going to follow the Well, no,
Okay,
actually, no, because y'all's game's on TBS tomorrow,
yeah,
so I don't think
so
it's over.
so so yeah, it's a TBS game, and the other two games are ESPN.
Which is good because I think that means we get to both watch that game at the same time. Because I don't think
Yeah,
TBS is blocked out on the.
so the TBS, it'll be on Max as well. So either or, but yeah, so that's a case we were just talking about here. The Stars Avalanche 8:30,
Yeah,
and then the Oilers play the
which
Kings a half hour later.
which again, makes sense kind of basically for the Colorado game because they're an hour behind. So it's 7:30. Washington game starts at 7. The LA game starts at LA Edmonton starts at 9 or 9:30.
9.
So 7, yeah. I don't
So
know. The league, I think, you know what, they get there's a lot of games to handle, but they I think had to do a bit of a better job of scheduling these games.
yeah,
Hopefully next round it's a bit more consistent where it's like, a 6 o'clock and an 8:30 game. If you've got 4 games or 4 games in a day, I don't know how they're gonna have it. Um, or 2 games in a day, whatever. But
yeah.
yeah, a bit absurd.
All right, so if you can see the standings up there right now,
Yeah.
the brackets. In the East, Carolina leads their series over New Jersey 2-0. Toronto leads Ottawa 2-0. Washington leads Montreal 1-0. Florida leads Tampa Bay 1-0. Out of West, Winnipeg's got a 2-game to nothing lead on St. Louis. Colorado Dallas series tied at 1. The only one that is tied right now. Vegas leads Minnesota 1-0, but right now Minnesota
Minnesota's up.
at 2, and the Kings are leading the Oilers 1-0. And I want to say again, this is 4 years in a row the Kings and the Oilers play. The Oilers lost the first game 3 times, and
Well,
you mentioned it last time. Every series last year, the Oilers lost game one.
Well, and I know that the Oilers lost game 1, but if I'm a Kings fan, I'm a bit worried because they were up 4-0 in that game and they almost lost.
They were up 4-1.
Yeah,
Well,
going in the third.
technically, Dreisaitl's goal came with like about 8
5
seconds left.
seconds. Yeah, it was the last second.
So you can really say that they were up 4-0 through 40 minutes, and if it wasn't for just kind of a you know
Fluky bounce. That
a
was
fluky
weird.
bounce,
I mean,
it was a
I mean,
knuckleball that went, and Fogel jumped right in front of the
Stu.
sight of Stu.
I know, and that's kind of fortunate that it didn't touch him because I don't think it would have gone in, but he jumped high enough where it went like right under his skates. But
Yeah.
I got to ask you this because you're an Oiler fan, obviously.
Hmm.
One of our two teams made the playoffs this year. Do you feel like they need to keep going with Stu, or do you think they need to sit him eventually? Because
I thought about that last night during the game, when they were up 4-0, and you think about it when they're up when the other team's up 4-0. Stu still looked good at points, and I know a couple of the goals, especially goal 3 and 4, weren't his fault. He was got no defense. I think you go back to Stu. I don't think you pull him for game 2. Now, if he lets in 3-4 goals again,
that
then
might be a
when
cause
you
of
go to
concern.
game 3 in Edmonton, you may want to turn to Pick, because what happened last year in the
It
Vancouver
worked
series,
out.
remember it worked out. They pulled Stu for a couple of games. Pick got a win, and he, you
Yeah,
know, and I think Stu got back on his game. So that's how, if I
yeah.
was Knobloch,
That's what you would do.
I would say, because after game 1, you don't want to pull your goaltender and totally blow his confidence. I think you put him back in there. Paul Coffey needs to have a discussion with his defensive core and
But
just say,
yeah,
like, stop making stupid mistakes, and then the discipline, stay out of the penalty box. If they stay out of the penalty box, they would have been fine if they would have stayed out of the penalty box. But you give Stu another shot in game 2. If he's shaky, you go to Pick, because Pick can pick things up and keep the team in there and give them a good shot at winning, because he's a solid backup goaltender. I think he won 20 games this year.
yeah, I agree. I think they need to try Stu again, but if he lets in as many as he did last night, yeah, I don't think he need to. It's just not going to be. I mean, this is a different LA team. This is going to be the
Well,
hardest LA team they're going to have to face and beat.
sometimes stuff happens. Like a couple of years ago with Aiden Hill in
Yeah,
Vegas, he was thrown into a situation and they won the cup.
yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's what you do all the way, but we'll see what
Yeah.
happens tomorrow.
No, Oilers just got to play the whole 60
Yeah.
this time. They played about 20 yesterday,
Yeah.
and they
No,
almost won
I
that
kind
game.
of look at the first period and a half as being, they had guys that hadn't played together in 3 weeks, pretty much. So I think even though they were healthy, I think getting that rhythm back took a while. And that's like what you say, when you do have injuries, you got to expect a couple of games for that person individually to get back into the groove. But when you had like 4 or 5 or 6 or
Yeah,
7 guys injured over that time period, yeah, coming back in the first round
they,
of the first game of the playoffs was a tough thing.
yeah.
But
They definitely just picked it up at the end, and I mean,
But
oh,
you got to, as an Oilers fan, you got to be encouraged by what happened in the third period. And if you're a Kings fan, like you said, you got to be a little nervous because you had a 4-0 lead
you
and
about
just
blew it.
fell apart. So, all
Yeah.
right, well, that's going to wrap things up. Let's see. I think it's still 2-0 for Minnesota. Maybe just check real quick. It's 3-0 Minnesota now with about
Wow.
a minute left in the
The
first
first.
period.
Still a long ways to go, though. They got to keep playing.
Let's see. Boldy, Foligno, and Zuccarello have the goals.
Boldy's got 3 already. He
Yep.
had 2 in game 1. He had both goals for them in game 1.
So now, you've got Minnesota leading 3-0. Vegas is on the ropes
They're gonna,
now,
but Vegas is gonna come out hard in the second. They've
but
got to be ready for that.
Minnesota's got to keep playing like they played in the first period. By the looks of
Yeah.
things, just keep pounding it. Don't, because the worst thing you can do with a 2
Let off
nothing
the
3-0
gas.
lead is let off the gas. Because look at what happened to the Kings last night. You got to keep going, and if you get 5, 6, you just got to keep
Keep
going.
scoring. Who cares? Who cares how many you score?
Because you're talking about a Vegas team who was number 1 in the Pacific. You're talking about a former Stanley Cup. Most of the guys, a lot of the guys are still
Yeah.
on
Stanley
were on
Cup
the Stanley Cup
champions.
team. But yeah, so it's 3-0 Minnesota, almost done with the first period. But we'll recap that tomorrow night when we do a recap after the Oilers Kings game tomorrow night. All right, well, that'll about wrap it up for tonight, the 2025 Stanley Cup playoff bracket from the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. You'll be able to get this. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be available here in just a bit if you're still awake. Tomorrow, it'll be up on our Best Boys Center Ice podcast YouTube channel, which will be then, of course, added to the mix on the Refocus Radio Network. You can get that, and also I Am Refocus Radio with Shemaya Reed, and Sweep the League with Rudy Campos Jr. Rudy's knee deep in the NBA playoffs because they started here as well. So we got a lot of great content on there.
Yep.
Carson and I will be back tomorrow after the Oilers-Kings game. It'll be a late one, but
Yep.
hopefully it'll be a good one.
Okay.
And we'll wrap up tomorrow night. And in the meantime, and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, son.